And so there's this realization that we have a primary drive to belong, and that deep within us is this sense of empathy and cooperation that we want to express. Now, another interesting thing that science is helping us figure out is this really deep sense of connection that we have with each other. There's, whether you believe in the Big Bang Theory, or even, heck, if you believe in creationism, the theory of where we all came from always comes to that point that we came from the same place. The theory of the Big Bang is that stars exploded and that we are all here today as part of that same stardust. If we feel like we are separate, or we feel like we are isolated in this moment, that it's only an illusion. If you close your eyes for just a moment and take a few deep breaths, and in this moment, allow yourself to reconnect with the truth about who you are. As we're sitting in this room today, we're each here to love and encourage and support each other. And you open your eyes and look around and see that there is a sea of people here this morning that are loving and supporting you on your spiritual path. One of the things that really struck me 20 years ago, when I couldn't even imagine how my life might be changed, but by just showing up here on Sunday morning. I remember one time when I was sitting in that back row right there, and there was an older gentleman sitting next to me. And it was one of the first few times when I'd had the courage to actually stay through the peace song. And so we're holding hands. And I'm kind of really struggling with really wanting to leave and not really liking this holding hand thing. And finally, thank goodness, the peace song was over. And this gentleman turned to me, and he just squeezed my hand and smiled and said, "You just have such a pretty voice." Well, I don't know if I'm actually believing him about that. But there was this moment when I felt a connection. This moment, sitting right back there, when I felt like that maybe this is where I belonged. I don't know who that gentleman was. But if he was here today, I would be able to tell him how grateful I am that he gave me this sense of community that was part of the pattern that changed the way I looked at life. And so that is the opportunity that each and every one of us has here today, is we have this opportunity in such small ways to make a big difference. It can be so easy. Jesus encouraged us, Myrtle encouraged us, and now we have an opportunity to figure out how we could do that ourselves. So if we were given the task today to figure out how we could help build the sense of community, what could we do? By seeing each other in our own unique ways and accepting ourselves as we are, by loving each other, and by looking for a way to work together towards a greater good. But what specifically could we do to create this wonderful sense of community? One of the things is that we could commit to being a spiritual friend. In Buddhism, it's taught that the most effective way towards enlightenment is to surround yourself with wise and compassionate people. That makes sense. So how could we start today by thinking of ourselves as a spiritual friend to those that we know and maybe those that we don't know, that we would reach out and love and encourage other people in this room today to be on their spiritual path. And we would open our hearts up and allow others to love and support us. Now, one of the other amazing things that we can do to create a sense of community is volunteering. It sounds so easy, but there's some amazing research that when you volunteer, not only do you help the people that you're volunteering for, but you actually help yourself. Johns Hopkins has done a study about an interesting group of people. There's an organization called the Experience Corps. And what it is it takes retired individuals and it gives them an opportunity to volunteer in whatever area they were working in. So in this particular study, they took a group of teachers who had retired. They took a group, randomized. Some of the teachers volunteered after they'd retired, and some of the teachers who retired did not volunteer. And they studied the health effects of volunteering on this particular population. And in fact, what they found is the retired teachers that started to tutor underprivileged children, they actually found that their health improved. And over a period of 2 years, they could actually find that the decline in cognitive abilities was significantly reduced. So even if we are acting in our own self-interest, we can do something like volunteering that can be an incredible help to ourselves. And whenever I think about volunteering, I always think about our very own Geneva Price. Some of you guys may know that 50 years ago, Geneva was diagnosed with breast cancer. And in that moment, she had a choice. She could isolate herself and separate from her family and friends and decide that she couldn't do anything to help herself. And what Geneva decided to do in that summer of being diagnosed is she went and started a program for children. And she spent the entire summer out on a farm. She said that the thing about it is she was having so much fun with the kids and she was so tired at the end of the day that she didn't have to worry about having breast cancer. And amazingly, here we are, 50 years later, celebrating the life that is Geneva Price. So if you need examples, of what cooperation can do for your life, we've got plenty to see. And so these examples of being a spiritual friend or volunteering, think about all the ways you can volunteer. Go feed the hungry, or be a greeter on Sunday morning, or just go serve the coffee and cookies after the service. Or next Sunday, bring a friend and bring them to service and share this experience with them. There are simple things that we can do that can make a huge difference in somebody's life. And even something so simple is at the end of the peace song today, you can lean over and just squeeze somebody's hand. And that can help build our community. So let's take those thoughts into meditation.